The Swedish Parliament held a seminar today regarding the question of confessional schools and the New School Act, which is a very pressing question. The New School Act, particularly paragraphs 6 and 7, are really in disjunction with the prevailing treaty international law that Sweden has signed up to. So there's a serious question of why Sweden isn't meeting its international obligations with these treaties, the ICCPR, the European Convention of Human Rights, and several others. The European Convention of Human Rights, Protocol 1, Article 2, states very clearly that the state must respect parents' rights to educate their children according to their own religious faith and convictions. It's not a new concept. It's a concept that's prevalent in a great number of other treaties, including the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, all the way down to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And it states very clearly that in that sense the government must respect the possibility to have confessional schools and have your children raised in a confessional environment. I think with regard to the question of religious freedom and the right of confessional schools, it's very clear that to remove this right, to interfere with Article 9 of the European Convention, which is the article dealing with religious freedom, is a violation of the Convention. The jurisprudence of the court is very clear that to interfere with religious freedom, there has to be a necessity, and it has to be proportionate to a legitimate aim. It's clearly not the case here. So why they would do it at this time is questionable, because very clearly there's no such thing as value-neutral education. They want to present an education that is their values and not a Christian value. And in this day and age, I can't see the problem with why parents couldn't be allowed to have their children learning about loving your neighbor, about hope, faith, and love, and all these great Christian values that made this country so wonderful. I mean, it was a very interesting conference. There was a number of individuals representing the state. There was a number of individuals from every number of Christian denomination. And so the question of what a legal case would look like would be interesting, because clearly it's not just one denomination that's being affected, it's every single Christian denomination, every confessional school for that matter. A case before the Strasbourg court, I think, would be very clear-cut. There are just so many treaty obligations being broken with this new confessional law. When you oblige yourself to sign a treaty, you do it on your own free will, so it wasn't that it was forced upon Sweden. When you have a treaty, you can't then pick and choose what you like and what you don't like. You're legally bound to follow every aspect of that treaty, including this respect for parental rights and other documents like the Covenant on Economic and Social Rights, which clearly states you have to be allowed to have private schools and private religious schools. That's a clear violation. So from a lawyer's perspective, we would love to have this case because it would be a very little work to win. If this case was presented to Alliance Defending Freedom, we would be very, very happy to take the case. We currently have 2,100 allied lawyers. That is lawyers who are willing to donate up to more than 450 hours of pro bono service. We have a full-time litigation team of more than 40 lawyers, offices internationally, and I like to think we're the premier legal organization before the European Court of Human Rights. We currently have 30 cases at that court, and we've had over 50 in the last 5 years. So these are exactly the types of cases we enjoy handling. We have quite an exceptional record, I think, and this would certainly be one that we'd like to add to our collection of cases if it were to come about. I would very much like to say something to the Christian and the confessional schools in Sweden, and that is to stand their ground. One way democracy and freedom is diminished is when good people don't stand up for what's right. Sweden is known internationally as a human rights, a premier human rights defender. In its parliament, it talks about the human rights situations in other countries. It is a shame that rights are being taken away from the people of Sweden and from the parents of Sweden, good, hard-working people who simply want to educate their children according to their own religious faith and convictions. It is time to stand up because this is a law that can be defeated and must be defeated.